New class alert, please. We got a new class upcoming. Who are the allies of Allah and the allies of Shaytan? Taught by Mustafa Layla Nashiba. I know you're not gonna want to miss this. So please stay tuned, okay? Streaming on all major platforms. Channel Sunnahfollowers. Faithful friend or enemy.
Excuse me. In alhamdulillah, wa salat, wa salam ala wa rasulullah. I'd like to welcome everybody here to our Aqidah class. And this is the class which teaches you the things that you need to know about your religion. I have a lot of new shahadas that are here, and I want to welcome the new ones that have joined. I'd like to give a salams to Sister Kimmy. And I want to thank Sister Kimmy for bringing some of her friends here. And let me introduce myself briefly. For the new shahadas, my name is Sister Layla Nashiba. And, I've been teaching Islam for over 50 years. So that'll tell you that I'm an old lady. I've been teaching Islam for over 50 years. You know, my specialty is Aqidah and Hadith. Aqidah and Hadith. Those are my specialties. And I've had very good teachers. My first teacher was Imam Mutawab, and then I've moved on to other teachers. I had Sheikh Qaradari as one of my teachers. Umar El-Eshkar was another one of my favorite teachers. And the teacher I have today, who was also with them, and who they brought to me to continue after they had to move on, and that is Sheikh Abu Atayib, Sheikh Mustafa Morsi Abu Atayib. So, I've been learning Islam all my life, born and raised Muslim here in America, and my dawah is designed to open your heart, to get the attention of your heart and call you back to the fitra. That's my dawah technique. My technique is not like anyone else's that you're going to meet. Because like I said, I was programmed to be a daya from the time I came into this world. I had nothing to do with this. Of course, it was the qadr of Allah and the pushing of my family and my community, because I was born in the 60s. The civil rights movement in America didn't know what Islam, true Islam, was. Okay? So my dawah is designed to shake your heart, to wake your heart up, to gain that attention and respect of your heart and call it back to Allah. Okay? And everything that I teach is based on the Quran and the authentic hadiths with the understanding of the companions. I do not teach you method. I do not follow a school of thought. The school that I belong to is the school of Muhammad ibn Abdullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay? And everything that I teach is based on what he taught. And what any understandings that I give you will be the same understanding that those original companions had. I don't have to go to the second generation, nor do I have to go to the third. I deal with the first because I was trained and programmed to deal with the first. And I memorized all that the first had to say. Okay, so that's just a brief introduction about me. I'm not new at this. And just a brief introduction about my website. Kimmy wants me to tell you about the Sunnahfollowers. My website's been around since 1986. We were the first Islamic website to use voice technology in 1986. You can Google us, okay? And so we've been teaching Islam on the internet since 86. That's when I had Qaradari and I had Umar El Ashkar and Abu Atayib and them here with us, okay, and others. So we're not new, and I am not new. I may be new to sight because you will hear my voice. My classes have been recorded over the years. They're all over on SoundCloud and other platforms, but I didn't start using video camera until 3 years ago. So people finally get to see what I look like, but I am not new. I've been doing this longer than any of these other brothers on the internet. So Sunnah followers, we are an online Islamic school. We are an online nonprofit organization. There's no fee, no charges. Yes, okay, Akemi wants me to talk about that. Yes, you don't have to pay. Everything here is free. I would do this dawah for the sake of Allah. We all have done this for the sake of Allah. Yes, and Dr. Ibrahim Jamali, yes, he's been with me for over 20 years. Over 20 years. And also Dr. Ali and Dr. Asim. They've all been involved in this dawah since for over 25 years. Yes. Yeah, so we're not new. Oh, there he is. There's, you want to see Jamali? Oh, we got the new Shahada.
I'm in the hospital with my daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, hold on. Let me go to the camera so I can see. Yeah, there he is. Let me see. We got the sisters here. She says she remember you were the sick imam. Yeah, that's Dr. Jamali. He's still with us. He's not sick. I mean, he's sick, but he's not sickly like that anymore.
Actually, in the same hospital I was before.
Oh, subhanAllah. How is your daughter doing? Is she doing better?
Yeah, alhamdulillah. She's making puzzles now. And alhamdulillah, Allah.
Oh,
she's not here making wudu.
Yeah, there he is. You see him, sisters? Yeah, that's still Dr. Jamal. Yes, he's the one that used to lecture in Australia. Oh, you remember? Yes, he used to go to Australia and always stream. Yep. When y'all look at those videos of Jamali with his computer, his laptop, that was him streaming to us. Yep.
What is
that was what did he say? What I can't hardly understand.
What is the meaning of you mentioned in the beginning? We're making da'wah.
Yes, we're making da'wah.
So that new Muslims have to know what the meaning of da'wah.
Yeah, tell them. Go ahead.
No. Your job here.
Oh yeah, that's what I was at them. Yeah, that's why I was giving her some background. She wanted to know about the website and all of that. Yeah, we try to teach you the basics of Islam, like I was saying, and everything we teach here is based on the Quran and the Sunnah with the understanding of the companions. We don't deal with no methabs. We don't deal with no fatwas or none of that. Everything is backed up with Quran and Sunnah. Exactly. And she was asking, was it free? And I was telling her, yes, free of charge. We've been doing this since '86. We were the first Islamic website to use voice technology. Yeah, since '86, and everything's free. Fisabilillah.
That's our brother and sister. Also, as far as you are making shahada, and la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah is obligation for all the Muslims to make da'wah. You have to give the message. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, beautiful hadith in Bukhari, "Al-ballighu anni walau ayah." Get the news about me, even one ayah. One ayah. We learn something, especially Sister Laila, it's a very, very important topic. This topic is supposed to be everyone understanding. Because if this topic, al-aqidah, al-tawheed, monotheism, oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you don't understand it, we're not a true Muslim. Is why Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in Mecca, he stayed 13 years in Mecca. 13 years in Mecca, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. What he was doing 13 years? Aqidah, tawheed, and aqidah. Monotheism, aqidah, creed, in Allah. And then he migrated to Medina al-Munawwara 10 years after that. Fiqh. And that the fiqh course, we're not following the system. As I said, very important. We're not following the form school of thought. We respect the following school of thought. We respect Malik and Ahmed and Abu Hanifa and Ahmed and Shafi. We love them so much. We follow them. We follow their steps, but we not follow certain school of thought. We are the Sunnah of Rasulullah only. Our madhab, Sunnah followers madhab, not mine. Sunnah followers madhab. Our school of thought, La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah only. For you Muslims, it's an honor to have you, happy to say that. I'm not speaking, I'm not supposed to speak because I'm in the hospital with my daughter, but it's very important. Why? Whoever listen to us in social media, in the first, in especially Sunnah followers, Aqidah, creed, monotheism supposed to be number one as we follow Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Sister Laila,
Exactly.
sorry for that.
That's okay. Good. MashaAllah. Yeah. So yes, you're going to get what the things that we're teaching you here are the things that you need to know that will help you to get through the grave and inshallah across that Sirat bridge. It's your belief system, what it means to believe in Allah, what it means to say that you believe in and follow the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what it means to believe in Allah's angels, what it means to believe in his books and the day of judgment, the hereafter, all of that. So alhamdulillah, Sister Kimmy has brought you to the right place. And inshallah, you know, if you guys stick with us, because remember, our classes are every day and we're going to give you the knowledge you need. You know, you have to be sincere and regular in attendance here because it's a lot of information. Yes, go ahead, Dr.
Sister, also with all my respect to Sister Laila, creed is not enough. The Iman, believe three things. Put it in your mind. Very important thing, three things about Iman, believe. Number one, as Sister Laila, we believe in Allah, yes. We believe in Allah. Number two, we believe in Allah and we'll follow what Allah says. And the third one, and the important thing, to apply what you learn from Allah Azza wa Jal and through Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Iman ثلاثة. The Iman three. تصديق بالجنان. You believe in your heart. I believe أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمد رسول الله. There's nothing else. Evidently, a lot of people say shahada, but not. The word number one, I believe in my heart. تصديق, believe it, yes. وعمل. And also you have to apply and to act. Act is very, very important. And Sunnahfollowers years, just more than 20 years with Sister Laila, more than that. And we concentrate, not only me first, everybody in Sunnahfollowers teaching Quran, Aqidah, Tawheed, and fiqh. The fiqh, of course, a lot of people are making the fiqh. And now Sheikh Google and Sheikh Siri, but alhamdulillah, Sunnahfollowers, we have all the scholars, alhamdulillah. Ilm al-Hadith, like Sister Laila, the science of the Hadith, the science of the Quran, the science of the Aqidah. If we have scholars, alhamdulillah. May Allah bless you all and me and Kara increase your knowledge, brothers.
I mean, yeah. So alhamdulillah, like I said, you're going to have the information to implement in your life. Because like Dr. Jamali said, just simply saying that we believe in Allah is not enough. Allah tells you that in the Quran. You know, he's going to test you. He's going to put you to the test to see if you truly do believe in him and to see if you are an ally of his or if you are an ally of Shaytan's. And that's what we're speaking about in this class now. Who are the allies of Allah and who are the allies of Shaytan? And as we've been speaking about, every human and jinn, we fall in one of those categories. If you are a human being, if you are a jinn, you're either an ally of Allah or you're an ally of Shaitan. And the whole purpose of me teaching this series is for you to do self-evaluation, for all of us to sit down and ask ourselves, you know, look at our actions, look at the choices we're making in life, and ask, are my choices and my behavior pleasing to Allah? Or are the choices I'm making in life and the behavior or actions I'm taking in life, are they admirable of Shaytan? Okay, so this is important, because when you declare La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, not only, as Dr. Jamali said, are you testifying that you are, that's what brings you into faith, but now you're going to have to spend the rest of your life proving your allegiance either to Allah or to Shaytan. So this is something that we got to think about. Okay. And yes, Brother Amir, mashallah. Yeah, Brother Amir said, I have learned so much being here. He said, sisters, I have been coming for the past 2 years, and I have never learned this much about Islam in my life as I have learned here. Yeah, because we cover all the topics that you need. Aqidah, we got the fiqh, we teach you how to pray, you know, how to pray, how to fast, you know, how to fulfill those obligations. We're not going to just tell you what your obligations to Allah are. We're going to also give you the means to fulfill them. Show you how the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us how to fulfill them. So you have to be serious about wanting to learn. And if you are and you're committed, inshallah, you'll be fine. Okay. Okay, so with that said, guys, let's get started, because yesterday we spoke a lot about the allies of Allah and the allies of Shaitan. We talked about how some of us don't receive all the information. Some of us, we believe in Allah, we believe in what He commands us to do, we fulfill our obligations, but maybe we don't know the details. I don't know the details of how to do this, or I don't know the details of the life of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So where do I fall? So that's what we talked about yesterday. And I'm going to give you guys a brief little quiz. Let me put it up here. Can you see my screen? Hold on. Y'all know I'm working 2 computers. Yes, my mother's fine. Oh, that's so nice of you to ask. Yes, I had to go over to my mother and spend time with her today. Jamali's with his daughter in the hospital. I've been with my mother who had her surgery. But alhamdulillah, I'm back. She's doing good. Yeah, she's doing good. Thanks for asking. And thank you for your supplications. Alhamdulillah. Okay. Can y'all see the screen? Okay. Okay, hold on. Let me. People on Twitch. Oh, mashallah. I got Twitch. Sisters here on Twitch. I got people on Rumble. And by the way, before I begin, let me let the brother know. Yes, not only are we streaming on YouTube, but we're also streaming simultaneously on Facebook, on Twitch, on Rumble, Telegram, Twitter. Yes, go to Twitter. I'm on Twitter too. All right. Yes, and all you have to do, you see this picture with the finger here. Look for channel Sunnahfollowers. Just type the name Sunnahfollowers, all one word, and I'm also on Instagram. Yeah, you'll be able, if you got any of those programs on your phone. Yes. Okay, yes, any of those programs, you can still tune in to us live, because I'm streaming on all the major social platforms. Okay, so here's the question that I wanted to ask you guys from yesterday. This is a scenario. Remember, the names have been changed. But even though the names are changed, the scenarios are real. Okay, let's look at this first question. Abdullah, he is a practicing Muslim. and believes in everything that he was taught about the religion since his conversion. But he still does not know how to read the Quran in Arabic. Which of the following is true? Number one, he cannot be an ally of Allah. Or is it number two, he can still be an ally of Allah? And I want y'all to remember, only Allah knows who his allies are. But we're supposed to look within ourselves to see if we're doing the deeds and making the decisions in our lives that can align us with Allah and not Shaytan. So what do you guys think about this? Abdullah's a practicing Muslim. He believes everything that he was taught about this religion, but he still doesn't know how to read the Quran. Which one is true? He cannot be an ally of Allah because he doesn't know how to read the Quran. Or is it the second one? He can still be an ally of Allah. What do you think?
He can still be one?
MashaAllah. MashaAllah. And why do you say that it's number two? Good job, everybody. Why do you say that he can still be one? Let me hear from the kid.
Because you don't need to know Arabic to be on his side.
MashaAllah. See how the kids can think and so clearly. Exactly. You know, learning how to speak a language, you know, is not a requirement of being an ally of Allah. In fact, and when it comes to Arabic, what's the thing? Is there any Arabic that we have to know? And if so, what is it? Exactly. The only Arabic that we are obligated to know, guys, is the Fatiha and the Tashahhud, what we do for the prayer. The Fatiha, that's the only Quran that we have to learn. And you should learn the Tashahhud because that's how the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us how to say them. And we have to pray the way the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us to pray. But other than that, learning how to recite in Arabic or read the Quran in Arabic is not a condition. And this is based on a true story because one of the brothers here, one of my new shahadas, he said that he was told that unless he learns how to speak Arabic, he'll never be allowed to enter paradise. You hear this all the time, but there's nothing in Islam that says that. And for all the other new shahadas, if you come upon people that tell you, oh, you can never enter paradise unless you learn how to read the Quran, you know, in Arabic. Arabic is the language of the paradise. They have no dalil for that. There's no evidence of that because Allah is the creator of language. And if Allah can understand an ant, if he can understand an ant, when the ants saw Prophet Solomon, alayhi salam, approaching, one of the ants made dua. She said, oh Allah, don't allow Solomon to step on our houses. If Allah could hear the supplication of an ant and understand ant language, don't you think he understands yours? When Jonah, alayhi salam, was in the belly of the whale, he made dua so much that even the fish in the sea felt sorry for him. And they began to make dua too, asking Allah to forgive him. If Allah can understand a goldfish, don't you think he can understand whatever language you speak? So I want you new shahadas, that's the first thing you're going to have to learn. You know, you should learn the Fatiha and the Tashahhud, but when you come upon those other Muslims that tell you that you will never make it to paradise, you will never understand this religion unless you speak Arabic, tell them, show you the dalil. Also, throw my name up to them. I don't speak Arabic fluently, but I dare anyone to tell me I don't understand my religion. I know my religion better than a lot of Arabs. Okay, so that's garbage. Yes, and we should learn to read the Quran. I can read the Quran with Tajweed. Oh yeah, I love to read the Quran with Tajweed. Okay, but is it something that we have to do? No. All right, good job. What about this question? Which of the following is true? Let's see if y'all can get this one. All the prophets of Allah were the same and equal, or
No.
some of the prophets stood out and were better than others. Which one is true? Go ahead, Nia. Go ahead, Nia.
Okay, some of the prophets stood out and were better than others. Sorry, I should let you finish.
No, you did good. You're doing good. You guys agree with her? Yeah, she's one of the new shahadas too. Let me hear from the rest of you guys.
Yeah, we agree.
Y'all agree? Good job, Sister Khadijah. Okay, good job. Good job, Khadijah. Yes, the second one. Good job, Brother Edward. Good job, Kimmy. Good job, Sakina. Good job, Jamila. MashaAllah. Everybody got that right. You know, the prophets, alayhi salam, they were of different statuses. Some were better than others. They weren't equal. Some stood out over others. And who were the prophets that stood out over everyone? Can anybody remember that? Who were the best of the prophets of Allah? Alayhi salam. Who were the best of the prophets? Which were yeah, I want to know the ones that stood out the most. Name them.
Musa alayhi salam.
Good job. Musa. Who else?
Ibrahim.
Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam.
Solomon.
Who?
Isa.
Isa alayhi salam. Who else?
Noah.
Noah alayhi salam. And who else? One more.
Solomon.
Okay, what about Solomon? Was Solomon one of the best of the best?
Solomon.
Yeah.
The jinn and the animals.
Okay, let's talk about that for a minute. And I'm going to do a series of that because a lot of the new shahadas don't understand this. Allah tells us in the Quran, Allah sent over 124,000 prophets, something like that. Can't remember the number. But of all the prophets, he say there are some that we know of and many that we don't know of. The ones who Allah mentioned by name in the Quran are the best. Solomon, David, all of them. But of the ones that Allah has told us of, the best of all of them were Noah, Abraham, Moses, Jesus, and the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And what is it that make those five better than Solomon? Who can remember? What makes those five I just listed better than Solomon?
They were given what is it? You know, like the Psalms and the Quran, etc., and the Torah.
That's the answer that most people give, but that's really not correct because David was given the Psalms. David was Solomon's father, but David's not one of those five best either. What makes those five that are the best? Come on, you Muslims been Muslim all your life should know that. What makes Noah and them better than Solomon, David, and the ones that came, and Jonah and them? Y'all can't remember? Mina?
Well, I know Noah because he the one that came right after the prophet.
Yeah, but do y'all
Abraham.
remember what
But I
makes
can't remember.
them better? Y'all can't remember. That's why I repeat these classes, because we talked about that when in the second of the trilogy. No one can remember.
Is it because they talk to Allah?
No, Allah didn't speak to all of them. He only spoke to, he
Okay.
spoke to Moses. He didn't speak directly to the rest of them. Okay, let me talk about that for a second. And I see I'm gonna have to review that even with the Muslims who've been born Muslim. Okay. Every messenger that Allah wait a minute, hold up. Yeah, I know you know the answer. Every messenger that Allah sent was a prophet, but not every prophet was a messenger. Just like we talked about with us, every believer is a Muslim, but not every believer, not every Muslim is a believer. The messengers of Allah, they are of a higher status than just the prophets of Allah. Solomon was a prophet who was also a king. Allah gave him a kingdom, but Solomon was not a messenger. He was a prophet. And what's the difference between a prophet and a messenger? Can anybody remember? You can try that, Anissa. What's the difference between a prophet and a messenger that makes a messenger better?
A prophet is sent to the people who already believe. A messenger is sent to those who just don't know.
Exactly. Prophets were sent to people who already believed in Allah, but they were having a problem obeying his commands. So Solomon, alayhi salam, and his father, they were sent to people who already believed in Allah, but they weren't practicing the religion as they should. But Noah and Jesus and Moses and our prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Abraham, they were sent to people who did not believe in Allah at all. So that's what makes them higher and better, because they had to call the people to belief in Allah, to stop worshiping idols. Remember, guys, Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, tells us in an authentic hadith that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the people used to worship Allah alone. It wasn't until the generation of Noah that the people began to worship idols. So that's the difference, guys. So those 5 prophets that I just mentioned, they are the best of the best. And what makes them different than Jonah was a prophet, but he was not a messenger. Solomon, alayhi salam, was a prophet, but he was not a messenger. Adam, alayhi salam, his descendant, what was his, I can't remember the name of his son that I forgot the name in Arabic, of the son that replaced him. He was a prophet, but he was not a messenger. Okay, Ismail, he was a messenger. Ismail, alayhi salam, he was a messenger. He was sent to the Arabs who did not believe in Allah. Okay, so do y'all understand that? I'm gonna teach that again, and I'm surprised every time I ask that question. Every year you guys don't remember that. That's weird. And we talked about that. So I'm going to go over that. So the prophets are not the same. Some are better than others. Some are on a higher level and a higher status than others. And of all the prophets and messengers that Allah sent, who's the best of them all? See if y'all know that. Who?
Prophet Muhammad.
Yes, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He's the best of them all. And who can tell me one of the reasons, the number one reason why? What makes him better than all the other prophets and messengers, all 124,000 that Allah sent? What makes him better than all of them?
Is it because he was sent the final message or the final, words of Allah?
Not really. I mean, that's
Can I
the,
answer?
He was,
yeah, go ahead.
he was,
Go ahead.
oh, he was the only one that completed all his mission and their mission too.
Exactly. What makes the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam the best of them all is not only did he complete his mission, but none of the other prophets completed their mission. He completed his mission, and he completed the mission of every prophet that came before him, including Abraham, including Jesus, Moses, Noah, Adam, Jonah, David, Solomon. None of them completed their mission. That's why Allah had to send others after them. But the Prophet Muhammad, yes, yeah, you get it? The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and you don't hear many daya tell you this. I don't know why, brother. The brother here said he's never heard that before. He's been Muslim all his life. I don't know why these other daya don't tell you that. Maybe they don't know. But what makes him the best is not because of the Quran. I mean, yes, the Quran is a reason, but no. As the law says, he completed his mission and every prophet's mission that came before him. That's what makes him the final. There was no need for Allah to send another prophet. There is no need for Allah to send any other prophet after him because he didn't leave nothing out. And that's important that all of you have to understand. Because if we understood this, we would not innovate in our religion. The Prophet Muhammad taught us everything we need to know about worshiping Allah and living up to Allah's commands and obligations. You can ask me any question and I can prove it, that the Prophet already addressed it. There ain't no question that you can come up with that he has not already addressed and answered. So that's what makes him the best. That's why there's no need for any other book. The Quran replaced everything that came before it. When Allah sent down the Quran, the Bible was destroyed. The Torah was destroyed. Allah says he destroyed all those other books. He said, it says in the Quran, if you want to know what was good in the Bible, what was good in the Torah, read the Quran. It's in the Quran. The 10 Commandments in the Quran. The story of the prophets in the Quran. Jesus, Mary in the Quran. If it ain't in the Quran, it means it didn't exist. Ain't no what's that man's name? Ain't no Joseph. Y'all get it? This is Aqidah. This is what you guys should know. This is what you're obligated to know. And we're going to cover that in this class. I'm going to go do the belief in the prophets again, I see as well. Okay? All right. So all the prophets of Allah, they were not equal. Some were prophets, some were messengers. Okay? Some stood out over others. Some were better than others, as we just proven. And the best of them all is the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was able to complete what the others could not. All right. What about this question? Which of the following here is true? We Muslims are the same, and we should never think that some of us are better than others. You can't judge me. You ain't no better than me. You ain't no different than me. We the same. We're Muslims. We believe la ilaha illallah. Or this one. We are different. We are all different in our relationship with Allah. Which one is true? Which statement is true? Go ahead.
The second one.
Okay. He said the second one. What did anybody object? Anybody got a different answer? Good job. Good job, Khadijah. Good job. Good job, Brother Edward. Good job, Amir. Good job, Kimmy. Good job, Muslima. Exactly. Everybody got that right. Tahira, mashallah. It's number 2. Margaret, number 2. Fatima. Good job, Fatima. We are all different. And I want you new shahadas to understand, you're going to come upon some Muslims. I want you new shahadas to be aware of this. You're going to come upon some Muslims at the mosque or somewhere else. They're going to say to you, oh, sister, you can't judge me because Allah knows what's in my heart. First of all, this is incorrect. As Muslims, we're supposed to judge each other. We're supposed to judge the actions of one another. It's true, only Allah knows if you a believer or not. I can't look at you and judge as to whether or not you are an ally of Allah or if you are an ally of Shaytan. That ain't my job. But I can look at your behavior, the fact that you're not wearing a hijab, the fact that you're smoking cigarettes. And I'm supposed to judge, number one, you doing some sinful stuff. And because of that, I can't associate with you. I'm going to have to distance myself, do what's known in Islam as el-bara. Our prophet, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, said, be careful who you allow to get close to you, because a man takes on the religion of his friend. So surround yourself with righteous Muslims, not sinful Muslims. So we're supposed to judge each other's behavior. The simple fact that you are deliberately, intentionally, and openly disobeying Allah, and you want to get arrogant about it, that's telling me right there, I got to go away, because all you're going to do is bring me down. I need people to hang around me that's strong in their faith. People around me who can keep me up, build me up. Remember, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said the greatest weapon that the believer has against Shaytan is each other, because we remind each other, we enjoin upon each other. So I want you new shahadas to ponder that. If you hear somebody say, you can't judge me, you say, oh, yes, I am. And yes, I can. I'm going to do some el-bara until you start wearing hijab and stop smoking weed, until you stop partying, until you stop drugging. I'm distance myself from you. That's called el-bara, and we'll talk about that in the second of this trilogy of books written by Sheikh Kareem Abu Zayd. May Allah bless him and forgive him of his sins. Ameen. Everybody got that? So I don't want you new shahadas to get duped like that. Okay, the sister here is saying, mashallah, this sister is really good. Now, well, I've been teaching for over 50 years. I'm not a young girl. I'm old. I got grandkids. Yeah, this is all I do. I ain't got no life. I ain't got a man. I ain't got nothing but the deen. That's all I do. All right. I think I got one more question for y'all. Let's see. Here's the last question from yesterday's lecture. Hold on here. Wow. Okay, I forgot I put this one here. Here we go. Who can tell me, and there'll be different answers, why is it important to strive as a Muslim to be a strong believer and not a weak one? And I want you new shahadas to listen to these answers, because now that you are Muslims, you should work hard to be the strong believer, because our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said the strong believer is better and more beloved by Allah than the weak one, even though there's good in both. Why is it important to be the strong believer? Who can answer that? There should be different reasons.
I'm gonna try. For me, I would say it's important to strive as a Muslim to be a strong believer, because whenever you become a strong believer, you're just gonna get better and better, and you're just gonna get more stronger. And but when you're when you're a weak one, you're just gonna go more into sins. The more you just keep on going down, and it's gonna be very hard for you to get back up. But when you're stronger, you're just getting better.
Mashallah, good job. Good job, Norto. Or is that Norto or Aisha? Y'all sound just alike.
It's
Norto, that's my baby. Okay. Good job.
Joe.
Oh God, you sound like your sister today. That's Isha. Okay, mashallah. And good job. Exactly. If a weak believer, that's a weak believer is one that falls into his desires and sins. The weak believer is the one that's more susceptible to falling into sin. And once we start sinning, we guys already know how hard it is to come back from it. Look at some of the answers here. Sister Muslima, she said, weak Muslims can easily become influenced. Exactly. You know, and this is important. We're living in the days of fitan, that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam warned against. The days where the Muslims are so weak and they're easily influenced by the societies in which they live in. He said drugs will become prevalent amongst my ummah. Sex out of wedlock will become prevalent outside of my ummah. You know, the weak Muslims are easily influenced by what's going on around them. Good job. Go ahead, Precious.
The stronger believer is better because they're able to handle their trials and tribulations, of course, stronger and better than the weaker one. The weaker Muslims are going to be questioning Allah, wondering why certain things are happening. They're not going to be able to understand. They're always going to be like more sad all the time and not be able to pull out of that. They're gonna struggle with that. The stronger one will be able to be like, no, come on, you know, this is Allah's decree. Let's go. Keep pushing. So.
And see, Precious is speaking from her heart because she experienced the death of her husband a year ago. And like she said, the strong believer is able to accept the qadr of Allah. This is important. We're going to talk about that in this series too. You know, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, every nation of people has its fire worshipers. The fire worshipers of my nation are those people that cannot accept the decree of Allah. You know, the strong believer submits. He submits to Allah's qadr. It may hurt, death. None of us like death. But the strong believer is quicker to bounce back from it. Look at Dr. Jamali. Dr. Jamali, he's losing almost all of his family in Gaza every day. But subhanAllah, he's still teaching the deen. He's still dealing with his family here. He's still carrying out his obligations. The strong believer got to keep it moving, got to bounce back and understand this is the decree of Allah. Death happens. We got to go. Keep it moving. Ain't no time for slacking. And that's why the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said in another authentic hadith, and the source of this hadith is Sahih Muslim. He said there are 6 things that the Christians have that we don't have that will always keep them as a majority and on top. One of those 6 traits that they have is they recover quickly from calamities. They bounce back quick. A lot of us Muslims, we get caught up in the emotionalism and the pain and agony. That's why we was telling one of the new shahadas here, you got to bounce back, sister. You got to accept it and keep moving. Keep it moving. Because it's a part of life. That's the qadr of Allah. And death is hard for us all. It's hard for us all. Like Precious say, she think about her husband. She'll get those thoughts. You'll miss him. The kids will miss him. You know, then you got to cut. A'udhu billahi, keep it moving. Make 2 rakats. Keep it moving. Okay, good job, Precious. Okay, also, Same thing from Sakina. Sakina said the strong believer can handle any hardships that they encounter. Good job. Oh, yeah, that's what Pamela wrote too. You can see my sisters that's dealing with trials. Pamela said the strong believer is not easily drawn into the trials of life. Good job. Sakina, she said they're less likely to give in to sin and temptation. You see what my students are dealing with? They all rocking and rolling and handling their trials. Isra, she said the strong believer sees good in all circumstances, whereas the weak one will question Allah's decree or even correlate their condition with something they did. They have a hard time accepting. All my students understand that's the problem. The true believer, when something bad happens to him, as Isra said, the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, how remarkable is the believer. How remarkable is the case of the believer. What's the source? Bukhari and Muslim. He said the believer sees the good in everything. When something bad happens to him, he says, Inna Allahi wa inna ilayhi rajun, which means from Allah have we come, unto Allah we shall return. And then he looks and sees the good in that situation. Your relative died. She died of a sickness. What's the good? The fact that she died. No longer does she have to suffer with it. Allah took her out of her pain. Allah alleviated her suffering. Because to die of a sickness like cancer, this is not fun. It's painful. It's painful. It's agony. So Allah, the good is he ended her agony. He ended her pain. The believer will look at things like that. You know. Okay, what else we got here? The strong believer. Amina said the strong believer knows that this dunya is temporary and that Allah doesn't burden us with anything that we can't bear. Exactly. The strong believer knows that whatever bad happens to us in this life, it came from Allah. But out of his mercy, Allah says he will never expose us to a hardship or expose us to a situation that we can't handle. You can handle the death of your husband. Allah knew that Precious could handle the death of her husband. That's why he died before her, because she could have died before him. But Allah knew that she could handle it. So Allah chose to take her husband and not her. Allah knew that it would be easier for the children to lose their father than to lose their mother. That's how you looking at the good too. The believer knows that whatever happens to them, like those people in Gaza, they can handle it. They're used to seeing war. War's been going on in their country since Brother Youssef started that lecture since the 30s. They're used to bombs and the cities destroyed. They can handle it. If they couldn't handle what's happening, Allah wouldn't give it to them. But can you handle it? No. If a bomb dropped down right here where I live right now, I'd probably have a heart attack. I wouldn't be able to handle it. Allah does not place a burden on any of us that we can't bear. And the strong believer knows that the stronger our faith, the greater our tests and trials and hardships will be. Them people in Gaza, their faith is stronger than yours and mine. They can handle it. You can't, but they can. They don't need nothing from you. They don't need nothing from me. Just make dua, they'll tell you. They can handle it. Because that's where they are in their relationship with Allah. Where are you in yours? You can't handle not being able to pay the bills. Paying the bills ain't no big deal for them. You can't handle Your husband having another wife. Another wife ain't a problem over there. 99 problems and a wife ain't one. So this is important. The believer, the strong believer knows that whatever Allah places on his plate, he can handle it. Because if he couldn't handle it, Allah wouldn't have put it there. Everybody understand that? So, mashallah, these were great, great answers. Go ahead, Tony.
It's important to strive to be a strong believer as a Muslim because that is our ultimate goal, and also because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran that He will never allow the hellfire to touch a strong believer.
Exactly. The strong believer, he strives to become an ally of Allah, because the allies of Allah are those whom Allah has loved. And Allah says He promises that He will never, ever, ever allow the hellfire to touch anyone whom He loves. The strong believer keeps that in mind, and that gives him or her the courage and the initiative to submit, to fall back and submit. Yes, go ahead, Anissa.
You may have answered. I got on the phone, but I was going to say, the strong believer it's like a guideway. It's a blessing to those around that believer because it gives them more strength. It helps them not to be weak because they can see the example of the strong believer. That strong believer will just rub off on them.
Exactly, guys. The strong believers become great role models for others. The strong believers set the pace for the weaker ones, for those weaker Muslims who are aspiring to become allies of Allah, like you knew shahadas. You want to be strong in your faith. You want to be a good Muslim. Then you need to surround yourself with strong believers, not weak ones. The weak ones are the ones that end up sinning, that are sinning. You need to make sure that your associates and your friends are Muslims that are strong, passionate, and dedicated to Allah. Okay? All right. So, mashallah, very, very, very good answers. I'm proud of all of your answers here. And so now, let's talk about this. A lot of people come to me and they ask me, especially nowadays, I'm going to tell you guys the truth. Subhanallah, I think from all the intermarrying, we have a problem. Some of our children may be born and they're on the scepter, they're, autistic or bipolar. We have a large percentage of people who are bipolar, autistic, or they have some type of mental disability. So a person will often come to me and say, Sister Layla, I'm bipolar, or my child is autistic. Can I be an ally of Allah, or am I an ally of Shaytan? How many of you have heard other Muslims say that people who are mentally ill are possessed by the jinn? That's not true. Not really. I worked with the jinn for 36 years. I just retired from that. All of my clients were developmentally disabled. I worked with the lowest kind, the lowest functioning ones who were truly possessed. If you saw a person possessed by a jinn, you would know it because it's not like anything you've seen. They're not like any normal human that you've seen. They will walk on the wall even, okay? But some people, they'll say, Sister Layla, I'm not like that. It's just that I got to take medicine. I'm schizophrenic or I'm just bipolar. As long as I'm on my medication, I'm fine. But if I come off my medicine, I don't know what I'm doing. So am I a jinn because I have bipolarism? No. If your sickness is controlled by medicine, can be controlled with medicine, take your medicine. Okay? Just because you're bipolar or schizo does not mean that you are possessed. And I want all my African students to pay attention to that, because one thing about the African culture, you guys are quick to blame everything on jinn possession. Because you're bipolar or because you're schizo, you're not possessed as long as it's together. When you're possessed, the people around you will know. If you ever seen the movie The Exorcist is real. That's how a possessed person acts. And by the way, the person that's possessed don't even know what they're doing. They don't even remember it. If the jinn leaves them, they don't even remember what happened. And if they got bruises, guess what? The bruises go away. It's weird. Those bruises just disappear. I've watched them just disappear. So stop blaming everything on the jinn. And so let's talk about these type of people. Let me put the PowerPoint and make it bigger. And by the way, for the parents, make sure you guys have me on the big screen TV and use your cell phone to take screenshots of the PowerPoint. Okay? And I'm going to make it so y'all can see bigger. Okay. We talked about how in order to be an ally of Allah, you have to have the characteristics of faith, as Dr. Jamali was speaking about, and practice. The allies of Allah don't just say they believe in Allah. They show it through their actions. As the Prophet Muhammad said, whatever's in the heart will manifest through the actions. And we have this verse where Allah says in the interpretation of the meaning, indeed, there is no fear upon the allies of Allah, nor shall they grieve. Who are they? They are those who believe and are righteous in their actions. So if you're committing sin, there's no way you can be an ally of Allah. If you're disobeying Allah, you can forget about being his ally, because Allah is clear here. His allies are those who don't just believe in him, but their actions are righteous. Their actions are in sync with what he likes too. And also we have this hadith from our Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Prophet said, Allah says in a beautiful hadith qudsi, my servant will continue to get close to me by doing voluntary deeds until I love him. So the allies of Allah, they live their lives doing everything that's pleasing to him. If you're not doing good deeds that are pleasing to Allah, if you're deliberately, intentionally sinning, you can forget that. Okay? And again, declaring la ilaha illallah and then fulfilling your obligations, that makes you one of the righteous. That makes you a person of the right hand. And as we talked about, the allies of Allah are of two groups, the forerunners and the right-handers. And then if you are right-hander, you're just a person that does what Allah commands and believes what he says believe, and you're staying away from sin. But you can progress even closer to Allah by doing the voluntary deeds, the extra prayers, the extra fasting, giving dawah like I'm doing, like Dr. Jamali does. These are extra deeds that can bring us closer to Allah. Okay? So there is no way that an unbeliever or a hypocrite could ever be an ally of Allah. And just like it's impossible for them, anyone whose belief is not valid because they're not responsible for their actions, we cannot call them allies of Allah either. Y'all understand that? So if I am off my medicine and I've had a relapse, okay, I'm acting schizophrenic, I stopped taking my medicine, I'm bipolar. I stopped taking my medicine. I'm acting crazy. I'm not aware of what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm not a conscious. The pen is lifted for me. Well, I am not an ally of Allah. But also, you can't call me an ally of Shaytan either. Y'all understand that? This is important. I am not an ally of Allah, but you cannot call me an ally of Shaitan either, because Allah is clear. The Prophet Muhammad said the pen has been lifted for 3 people. What does that mean? When the pen is lifted, that means you're not held accountable for your actions. The people that are not held accountable for their actions are the mentally insane until they regain their sanity, or a child until he reaches puberty, or a person who is asleep until he wakes up. So I'm bipolar. I stopped taking my medicine. I done had a breakdown. Or I'm schizophrenic. I done lost my mind. Okay? Allah's not holding me accountable for anything I say, nor is the law holding me accountable for anything that I do. Okay? The same with children before the age of puberty. If your children do something bad, that sin falls on you, not them, because it's your job as a parent to have taught them right from wrong and Islamic morals. That's why I've been telling you women, yes, the brothers are supposed to provide and maintain you, but you women should be at home, homeschooling your children, teaching them Islam and teaching them manners and teaching them ethics. Because if your children do something bad or haram before the age of puberty, that's going to fall on you, not them. They're not held accountable. Okay? This is why also one of the new shahadas here, Sister Sandra, she asked me, what do you do if you have an autistic child? Autism is of different levels, but if you got the kind whereas the child is autistic to the point of where he's developmentally disabled, that child is not held accountable. That child does not have to pray. That child does not have to wear hijab. That child does not have to fast, because doing such things wouldn't even matter to them anyway. They're not held accountable. They don't understand why or any of that. Okay? So we cannot call these people allies of Allah, or we cannot call them allies of Shaitan either. So what do we call them? We simply call them people for whom the pen is lifted. And what does that mean? Let me explain this. That means if you have a developmentally disabled child, that child's not held accountable for anything. Allah will do whatever he wants to do with that child. Allah may decide to put him in paradise. It's up to Allah. And whatever good you do for that child will be a barakah, a blessing for you. But can you call that child a jinn? Can you call that child an ally of Shaitan? No. Just like you can't call it an ally of Allah either. They're not held accountable. I call them your ticket. They're either your ticket to paradise or they're your ticket to hell. Allah gave you that autistic child. Maybe he gave it to you as a test to see if you will make good of it. Or maybe he gave it to you to see just how shaitanic you are. All right? So, what about people who are bipolar? If you stop taking your medicine, or if you're schizophrenic and you're having a meltdown, you're not held accountable. But when your mind comes back to you, then you are held accountable. When your mind comes back and your chemical balance is back intact, then you have to pray. You have to fast. You have to fulfill your obligations. But when you're having a relapse, you're not held accountable. Does everybody understand that? So that brings us to the next part here that I wanted to talk about briefly. What about people who do magic? One of the new shahadas asked me, she said that there's a Muslim woman in her community that does tea reading, teacups. And unfortunately, the woman is Egyptian. She's one of my people. Egyptians are known for them teacup reading witchcraft. This is haram. These people are not allies of Allah. She told me that this woman in her community is an Egyptian woman. She reads people's teacups and tells their future. The woman said that she's blessed by Allah. She's not blessed by Allah with that. Allah does not give knowledge of the unseen to anyone except a prophet. And there are no prophets after the prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This woman is an ally of Shaytan. What that woman does when you go to see her, her jinn communicates with the jinn on your shoulder, and your jinn tells her jinn things about you. Okay? These people that deal in magic, these people that deal with the unseen, they are allies of Shaitan. Does everybody understand that? So don't get it twisted, new shahadas. Okay? Just because people say they Muslim, I want y'all to know we got some bad Muslims too. And even from the Arabic lands, like my homeland, Egypt. Egypt is filled. There's a teacup reader on every corner in Cairo. Okay? These people are not allies of Allah. They are allies of Shaitan. And stay away from them. Stay away from them. Stay away from them. Okay? Very important. And again, bipolarism, schizophrenia, you're only held accountable when you are sane. When you are insane, the pen is lifted. When you are insane, you're not an ally of anyone. But when you are sane, you can be an ally of Allah if you fulfill your obligations. And also, finally, this is very important, especially for my new shahadas. The allies of Allah, they do not have any special appearance. Just because a Muslim woman is covering her face, by the way, that's not an obligation in Islam. There's nothing in the Quran, and there's no hadith on planet Earth that says a Muslim woman must cover her face and wear gloves and wear black. We have the hadith of Atiyah. What's the source? Sahih Bukhari. She said, we women, we female companions, we never wore black. We never wore dark colors at all, unless we were mourning the death of someone. In that case, we would remove our makeup. We would remove our makeup. And we would remove our jewelry. And we would wear dark colors to signify we were mourning the death of someone. Then after the mourning period, she said we put on our makeup. We put on our colors and resume life. That hadith is authentic. It's Sahih Bukhari. All right? Shut it down. Yeah, nobody tell you that hadith, do they? Mm-hmm. So just because you see women looking like this, these women are just women that choose to look like that. They're not better than anyone. The allies of Allah do not have any special appearance to make them different or stand out over others. They have no special dress. They have nothing to distinguish them. Okay? And that's why it's been said so many truthful believers wear ragged clothing, and so many apostates wear beautiful clothing. Subhanallah. You could be dressed like this and have a shotgun underneath there. You could be dressed like that and be a man, a he, she. So the allies of Allah, they're just regular people, you know, just like you and me. There are the allies of Allah can be scholars, they can be fighters, they can be farmers, teachers, just mothers, fathers. The allies of Allah are simply those people who believe in Allah, fulfill their obligations, and stay away from sins. Listen to what Allah says in the interpretation of the meaning. Surely your Lord knows that you stand less than 2/3 of the night and half of it and 1/3 of it, as do a group amongst you who are with you. Allah has apportioned the night and the day. He knows that you will not keep track of it accurately. So he's forgiven you of that. So read what is easy for you of the Quran. He knows that there will be amongst you some who are sick, others who are striving and working and moving about on the earth, and others who are fighting in the way of Allah. So here Allah is telling us his allies come in different categories. People who work, people who are sick, people who are fighting, people who are struggling at home. So again, appearance, dress, language, none of that has anything to do with being an ally of Allah. And that includes money too. Listen to what Allah says in the interpretation of the meaning. O people, we have created you from a male and female and made you into people and tribes so that you can get to know each other. And the best amongst you in the sight of Allah is the one who is best in his actions. So the clothing that you wear, the language you speak, even the color of your skin has nothing to do with being an ally of Allah. We have a hadith from Imam Bukhari where the Prophet ﷺ was asked, which are the best of the people? He said, those who are best in their practice of this religion are the best. Also, the Prophet ﷺ said, an Arab has no superiority. I want you guys to pay attention to this, because you will hear Muslims tell you that you have to speak Arabic in order to get to paradise. You have to speak Arabic in order to understand Islam. Well, listen to what the Prophet said about that. He said, no Arab has superiority over a non-Arab, nor does a non-Arab have superiority over an Arab, nor does a black man have superiority over a white man, nor a white man superiority over a black man, except by the criterion of righteous deeds. All of you are from Adam, and Adam came from dirt. We all came from the same source, dirt. Ain't none of us better than others except by virtue of our actions.